Welcome everyone. My name is Sean, and today I want to talk about what is going on with Red Lobster, because this institution in America that has been around for a very long time, this location where many Americans who don't go out to fancy seafood restaurants actually have tried lobster for the first time. This place known for their cheddar biscuits is going under, and a lot of people are jumping on this to promote their own political bias, blaming just Bidenomics, ignoring all other factors, when in reality, it's actually a confluence of factors that includes a very large internet meme that ultimately sowed the seeds for the demise of the company. And we're going to get into it. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who signed up over on actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Your support is greatly appreciated.
Red Lobster for the seafood lover in you.
In the 80s and 90s, America was that seafood lover, known for its ever-evolving deals.
22 delicious new creations.
In 2000, Red Lobster was 16th out of the 500 biggest casual dining chains.
Now look, I know there's a lot of love for companies like Red Lobster across the country because these kind of chain dining restaurants, for a lot of people in the United States of America, are something that they frequent, that they have good memories of, because they offer reasonable prices, but a sit-down dinner that you can enjoy with the family. And Red Lobster, I had no idea about this until I was looking into this story, was actually at one point in time at their peak, the 16th most popular chain restaurant, which includes fast food and these chain dining locations in the entire country. That's how popular it was. And this is because a lot of people who would not go to a restaurant where they serve lobster would try it for the first time at Red Lobster, not to mention shrimp and all the different other various foods that they have. So it's actually kind of sad, not just for the employees that are losing their jobs, but for many people across the country, that this is a place that is going under, because again, a lot of people would not have eaten lobster if not for Red Lobster. But in order for us to understand the story, in order for us to get beyond the Bidenomics ultimately ended up doing this, we actually have to go back to about 10 years ago, where the first cracks in the foundation of Red Lobster could really be seen by the American public, because for a long time, again, this restaurant was riding high, setting itself apart from Applebee's and Chili's and whatnot, because of the fact that they serve seafood. But of course, a major problem with seafood is that it has become more and more vulnerable to price shocks, especially when you factor in the global market, and specifically in Asia, where they enjoy seafood, increasing their consumption with economic growth in places like China.
In 2004, the company debuted what would become a customer favorite, its limited time only endless shrimp deal.
Don't miss the only time of year to enjoy all the shrimp you can eat.
But Red Lobster faced a problem. Seafood is expensive. Just look at this chart. Shrimp prices began to spike in 2013. That year, Red Lobster's revenue plummeted in comparison to another Darden brand, Olive Garden.
So in 2013-2014, according to this Wall Street Journal piece, one of the major cracks in the foundation of Red Lobster was revealed when a combination of their promo called Endless Shrimp, which was only once in a year at Red Lobster, and a dramatic jump in the price of shrimp, ended up costing the company a significant amount of money that particular quarter due to the fact that those things coincided with one another. Now, the reason I'm highlighting this right here in this moment is because this is one of the pillars that is going to be removed from the foundation that is Red Lobster, that's ultimately going to end up leading to its demise. But in addition to that, Darden Foods ultimately ended up selling Red Lobster to a private equity firm that made another short-term beneficial move for the executives of that private equity firm that ultimately ended up damaging the company going forward, or setting it up for failure. Because one of the things that these venture capitalists like to do when they buy big brands is they like to start selling off assets, loading up the company with debt, and paying out exorbitant bonuses to the executives of these venture capitalist firms. A lot of times they're not really interested in running the company per se, and in this particular instance, one of the expensive assets that Red Lobster had was all the different various real estate that they accumulated, because prior to 2014, Red Lobster owned almost all of its locations. So after buying the brand, after buying the company, after buying the restaurant, what they ended up doing was selling the real estate back to the firm that they bought it from and then they became renters in the locations that they could have owned had they bought it and ran the company in the way that it was done before they made the purchase.
The next year, Darden sold Red Lobster for $2.1 billion to a private equity firm. As part of the deal, all of Red Lobster's real estate, which it had acquired since the late 1960s, was sold and leased back to the company to fund the total price.
Restaurant leasebacks can be kind of common in restaurants. It's something other chains do. The positive is you get a whole chunk of capital way up front. The negative is there can be consequences down the chain.
Now, as outlined by this Wall Street Journal piece, which by the way is excellent and I definitely recommend you guys watch it, this is very short-term thinking. It can be quite profitable by getting capital for these executives like they did, but ultimately it ends up making you vulnerable to certain different factors in the economy, and unfortunately for Red Lobster, all of those factors came and compounded on one another at the same time in and around 2020. But of course, during 2020, this Thai union group ended up becoming the largest shareholder in Red Lobster.
In 2020, a group including Red Lobster's longtime seafood supplier Thai Union Group took majority ownership.
Now, of course, you guys know what ended up happening in 2020. We had the pandemic, we had the lockdowns, a bunch of these different restaurants ended up being closed, and unfortunately, seafood was not one of those things that transported well in Uber Eats, in DoorDash, and all these different delivery services. So what ended up happening was that you saw a reduction in sales in this particular restaurant, like many sit-down restaurants. And even though government cash flowed into these locations during this period of time, the fact of the matter is people's appetites for what they were willing to do, yes, I just bumped the skeleton, or in terms of going out to restaurants, was greatly reduced. So Red Lobster had to come up with some kind of innovative way to bring people into the locations, something that was going to act as a loss leader, and they decided to go with endless shrimp, $20 for as much shrimp as you could possibly want.
But in the years that followed, Red Lobster, like many casual dining restaurants, was hit by broader economic factors. Widespread labor shortages from the pandemic and higher inflation drove up the cost of labor, eating into profits.
It was much more expensive to get these restaurant employees, and that means their costs ballooned.
And interest rates rose, which drove up the price of its leases.
On top of that, we ended up seeing interest rates spike because inflation spikes. So when inflation spikes, you end up with a bunch of different problems, and Red Lobster experienced all of them. First of all, the cost of their labor ended up going up dramatically. So yes, they're being hit on that front. On top of that, inflation was very sticky in terms of food and still is to this day. And as we talked about earlier, seafood can be quite vulnerable to price shocks. So the price of the products that they were delivering also got hit. On top of that, they also have to experience the counter response to inflation, which is the increase in the interest rates. And guess what happens when you're leasing all of these properties rather than owning them and interest rates goes up? The cost of actually paying rent ends up going up. So threefold, Red Lobster is being hit, and they decided as a way to counteract all of that, they wanted to increase foot traffic, so they decided to go with expanding the endless shrimp deal to year-round.
To combat these losses, Red Lobster needed a hit. In June 2023, the company took a big swing.
Ultimate Endless Shrimp is here with a limited time flavor drop.
The Dragon Shrimp flavor drop was limited time, but endless shrimp at a low price was now a year-round deal.
For just $20 right now, only at Red Lobster.
It was supposed to be a loss leader, which means the deal itself wasn't profitable, but it would increase foot traffic at a time when diners were choosing to order in. Execs were optimistic.
เรามีความมั่นใจมากยิ่งขึ้นนะครับในการที่จะบริหารจัดการ Red Lobster เนี่ยให้
Now look, obviously the Thai Union Group is a foreign company and it's represented by a foreign CEO, and I know a lot of people out there in the audience probably don't like it when American staples, institutions, some things that are iconic like Red Lobster get bought up by these foreign nationals, but the fact of the matter is, it would take a foreign national to not realize that this was going to fail so dramatically, because Americans, absolute savages. You offer them a buffet, they're going to go for it. And what they thought was going to happen was that people were going to come in for the all-you-can-eat shrimp, but order other things, and that increased foot traffic would lead to more profitability. But in reality, Americans came in and started ordering endless shrimp over and over and over again. So that 4% increase in traffic was compensated for by losing a ton of money, and of course, the internet memes that were associated with the $20 endless shrimp at Red Lobster.
And it seemed to work. The endless shrimp deal brought in 4% more foot traffic for the third quarter, a significant increase. But then, it started working too well.
My goal is to eat 65 shrimps tonight, 25 shrimps tonight,
45 shrimps tonight.
People were very conscious of it. The brand made sure that they marketed it both in traditional channels and online, and it got some buzz, but maybe a bit too much buzz.
Now, one of the things that I noticed about the video clips that they put in from the Wall Street Journal is that all of the people that showed up that said they were going to eat 45, 55, 65 shrimp in this all-you-could-eat deal were women. 100% of them. Now, they were large women, but they were in fact women. Imagine the guys that prepared for these kind of events in the way that I do when I decide that I'm going to go to the buffet, which is to not eat anything since the night before so I could put them out of business, came in with the goal of eating 100 shrimp, 200 shrimp, or something crazy like that. Obviously, this was a disaster for Red Lobster, and at the $20 price, who could resist getting all this free shrimp and just mauling Red Lobster in their pocketbook for fun when they're offering it in the belief that you're going to order a bunch of different things? I mean, in reality, when you get a buffet, especially something that is meat-based, you don't want to order anything like cheddar biscuits or any kind of bread or any kind of additions because that ends up filling you up and then you don't maximize your benefit against the deal.
The endless shrimp deal was much more popular than Red Lobster expected. This price was at the heart of the issue.
On this promotion, we don't earn a lot of money at $20. We don't, okay? And this is one of the key reasons for the losses we generate in Q3 23. Okay?
For the third quarter, the company reported an $11 million operating loss.
They'd had something like a $2 million loss the quarter before.
So even though they had increased traffic by 4%, their losses multiplied by 5.5, from 2 million to 11 million, and this was largely based on the fact that Americans were doing exactly what I said they were doing. On top of that, it became a viral trend, like you saw in the videos. People were leaning in to going to Red Lobster and hurting their business by taking advantage of their endless shrimp.
And in January 2024, Thai Union Group announced it would sell Red Lobster.
CEO of Thai Union also said he never wanted to eat lobster again. I mean, I think they were just really fed up with this situation.
Now, I love the fact that this group ended up selling the company and the CEO said he never wants to eat lobster again, although I will point out that he should have said that he never wants to eat shrimp again because that's what ultimately ended up doing the damage to this particular company, along with the other factors that I had. And this is the problem with the current economic age. A lot of places were set up for the low interest rates. We had low interest rates or interest rates dropping or remaining incredibly low since the Bush administration, so a lot of people took risk on the idea that it would never go up again. But post-pandemic, post-inflation, you ended up in a situation where a bunch of companies are experiencing similar shocks, and Red Lobster was uniquely vulnerable to this, and their attempt to recover, of course, was taken advantage of, in part by internet meme culture, and that ultimately ended up leading to the closures that we're dealing with. Now, they got a new guy who's trying to turn around the brand and all of that, but the fact of the matter is, their conditions on the ground that they have control over are the shrimp deal and whatnot, but what they don't have control over, the broader economic problems, still remains a problem because they're still leasing their spaces from the previous company that they bought them from because they sold all that real estate. They're still dealing with the higher wages. They're still dealing with inflation, and they're still dealing with a climate where people are moving away from chain dining, moving away from dining inside to dining and Uber Eats or all these different various apps. So it's sad to see Red Lobster fall so mightily, but the fact of the matter is it's a confluence of factors, not just Bidenomics, although Bidenomics definitely has an impact. Now, I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you enjoy Red Lobster? Are you upset about this? Have you taken advantage of this $20 endless shrimp thing to help put them out of business? All your thoughts down in the comments below. I definitely want to know. But as usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the end of Red Lobster. Till next time.